Hey, before we get started, just for fun, I'd like to dedicate this episode to SJ. She was my supervisor almost 20 years ago, and she's a kick-ass therapist and an awesome example of a true rebel. All right, now let's start the episode.
I definitely feel like my work has been impacted positively. I show up in a way that I'm available when I open my computer. I'm so excited to see what my people have been up to. And I'm not saying that wasn't always the case, in the brick and mortar office, but I feel a sense of vitality that I haven't felt in a really long time.
This is Rebel Therapist, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are trained as therapists and who want to level up their businesses, make a bigger impact, feel fulfilled, and be very well paid. I'm your host, Annie Schusler. This week, I'm talking to Ali Psiuk, a private practice entrepreneur who lives all over the world and works with clients who live in California. She's got a completely mobile practice. Listen as we talk about how Ali transitioned to being a digital nomad and how it's changed her life. This conversation might make you question your assumptions about what's possible in your business and life. So maybe you want to do more online work and you're not sure how to make it happen, and you're going to hear a lot about that today. As she talked about the freedom she's experiencing and the awareness she has of her choices, I felt my own awareness expanding. For a while now, I've been planning a long travel adventure for the summer of 2020, and I've been saying, hey, this is just a maybe, and we're going to see if it works out. After this conversation with Ali, I told her, now I see that I have to stop saying that. I've got to decide that this is happening and then work out all the pieces from there. And by waiting to see whether it's going to all fall into place, I'm pretty much assuring that it isn't going to. Obstacles always come up. Maybe there's another change that you're getting ready to make. Maybe it's a travel adventure or launching a second business, radically shifting your hours, working in a different way, or even moving. Listening to Ali's adventure story will help you see where real limits exist and where you may be limiting yourself. Ali, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Annie. This is a sweet treat and an honor. Thank you.
So you have made your business 100% portable. Why was this so important to you?
Freedom. I think I have a background in history in hopping around and traveling. I dropped out of high school and I joined a circus. And in thinking about times that made me the happiest, travel kept coming up. And I did a self-development class where I was in a dyad with someone, and the practice was to ask each other, what do you want? What do you really want? Just over and over, and travel kept coming up. And it was a few different things coming together, but I was walking into my office. I had a beautiful office, top floor, Hobart building, downtown SF. I could see the bridge, the North Bay. I was walking into the office and I could see my footprints ahead of me, like before I even got there. And I'd been in the Bay 7 years, 8 years, and I just started to feel stagnant and stale. And so it was a combination of wanting to expand. Psychotherapy is all about exploring expansion in the mind. And there was something that I was needing actually physically. And I've known that I've always wanted to work globally. I wasn't quite sure what that looked like, but I had applied to Doctors Without Borders and International Medical Corps, and I got rejected from both of them. I'm also a Peace Corps reject, so I have a really good track record. And I was like, you know what? I want to do this on my own. I'm going to figure it out how to work abroad. And whether that be connecting with local mental health clinics or meeting local therapists, it just kind of all came together that I found some help through a group that I'm traveling with. There's a few different digital nomad support services out there, and I landed with one that is, I describe it as a concierge service that supports me in my Airbnb, my managing my flights and managing my workspace, 24 access to a workspace, all for what I was paying for rent in Oakland. So I was like, why not? And just all these things fell into place that I went, you know, to people and just, check figuring out all the ways, what do I do with my car, my apartment, my practice, and all the messages I got back were yes, yes. And I'm here and I pinch myself every day. I'm like, is this working? This is working. Oh my gosh, I can do this. I'm so happy. I'm healthier. And I'm again, so grateful to you for helping me get here. I think your work in developing therapists' uniqueness helps them do more of what they love in the way that they love. And we can talk more about this. I'm talking a lot. I'm excited. I have a lot to share about this, but I definitely feel like my work has been impacted positively. I show up in a way that is, I'm available when I open my computer. I'm so excited to see what my people have been up to. And I'm not saying that wasn't always the case, in the brick and mortar office, but I feel a sense of vitality that I haven't felt in a really long time.
Oh, that is so fantastic. Where are you talking to us from right now?
I'm in Mexico City, also known as CDMX, and it is, I don't think you can spend enough time here. There's actually a large community of expats drawn here for so many different reasons, but the people, the culture, the food, nature, a large part of my travel has been getting the history lesson that I never got in school and being exposed to, there's so many museums here. I wish I had the stat on it, but I can't say enough about Mexico City. If anyone wants to talk more about that, ping me.
Excellent. So I didn't know about this. You're working with an organization that helps you with some of the logistics. Which one are you working with?
So I'm traveling with a company called Remote Year, and they have 4 and 12-month programs that assist, there's different itineraries that assist people with, they set up the flights, but they're starting to change that where actually there's more flexibility with the planning. And actually, after you complete a program, you are considered a citizen. And so you still have access to the network, the community, which is thousands of digital nomads all around the world, where if you literally are like, I need a vegan taco at 2 a.m., where do I get it? People get back to you. Or, how do I do this? I want to do this. What's there? It's about the network and the community, which is vital. I think, it's a well-worn path that I'm traveling. So I'm definitely standing on the shoulders of those who've come before with, I have to have a Wi-Fi booster. I need, plugging directly into the router is best. Just all of the different ways there's people out there living alternative lifestyles, and it is significantly increasing their quality of life. And I'm so blessed and fortunate. And I also realize it's a privilege to do this.
Okay. So you're not just having to piece together every single detail and like run into what the problems might be on your own. I'm sure there's some of that, but you're getting to benefit from what everybody's anticipated for you.
Correct.
Oh, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's 35 of us traveling together, and we all have different jobs. Some groups I've learned have had upwards of like 5 therapists in groups. There's no other therapists. There's another coach, but in the group there's everyone from website designers. We have a few lawyers who are working remotely, project managers. So I actually also get to pick the brain of all of these people and all of these different lines of work, and we're all kind of doing this crazy thing together.
For your therapy practice, what's the technology that you're using for sessions?
Mm-hmm. So I use Doxy.me, and that has been so reliable. And I don't have any wood near me to knock on, but seamless in terms of the video quality. I've heard, some feedback just on the alumni call the other day. I plug right into the router. That's also the benefit of traveling with remote year is my program leader puts me in the apartments with the best Wi-Fi. I can do some sessions out of the workspaces, but I just prefer to work from home. So I use Doxy.me for video. Sometimes if clients struggle with for whatever reason, their audio is not enabled, I will call them and have the phone going through Google Hangouts. And I know that's not HIPAA compliant. I do that rarely when the audio is not working. And I get verbal consent for that. But primarily Doxy.me, and I use Simple Practice for my notes and scheduling. And I'm looking into their online scheduling. I think I'm going to add that. So if anyone has feedback on that, I'm super open to that. Let me know what your online scheduling.
Yeah, I use online scheduling. And yeah, love it. And so you were just mentioning the alumni meeting. So you're talking about for the Superpower program, our alumni meeting. And we just met with Rob Reinhart of Tame Your Practice. He came and visited and was talking about all things technology.
Yeah. And HIPAA compliance.
And HIPAA compliance, right. And that was one thing that came up on the call was when you're using something that is not HIPAA compliant, that it's all about
getting consent,
educating the client, getting consent, having a conversation, that there's no magic pill that makes everything HIPAA compliant. So yeah.
No, and it goes back to the relationship, right? Being transparent, forthcoming with information. Yeah.
I'm really curious about how this works in your life. Like, can you tell us about a typical day or a typical week of how you spend your time, how you fit your work into it, and make all of the other, exploration possible as well?
Yeah. I would say there is, fortunately or unfortunately, I'm comfortable with there actually not being a typical day or week, just given the city that I'm in at the time. It's been 4 months now, and I've been in 4 different cities. And so I try to exercise, absolutely, whether that is running or... Are you still into running? You were running the last time.
I run every other day 1 mile. So some people would say, oh my God, that's not running. But for me, that's awesome.
That's significant. Absolutely. It's so hard to run. It actually never gets easier, unfortunately. I have my yoga mat out. I love going to yoga classes in Spanish. It's a super fast track way to, immerse yourself in the language. So, I do the thing that I would normally do in the Bay. I get up, I make my bulletproof coffee. I let myself sleep in. I don't have morning appointments. That is going to shift in Asia. So I can talk about my schedule now and how that's shifting. But I do all the things I can do. I try to maximize, whether it's putting clients in the morning or in the evening, that I do have the day to museum hop, to sightsee. Weekends are definitely adventure packed. I've taken some small flights here or there. I got away to Oaxaca over the weekend and spent 3 days being an amoeba on the beach and being the only gringo there. And it was a super small fishing village and just nature detoxed. So definitely the weekends I have to be strategic with, okay, what am I doing? Do I have that arranged? But again, that's the benefit of traveling with a group and being connected to thousands of people who say, these are the top 5 things to do. And also I like to plan, but also leave it open to, I just met someone at a gathering the other night who said, I'm going to these caves. There's like hot springs in these caves. And I was like, what? And I was able to go with her. So for Asia, I am shifting my clients down to Bay Area evening times because that will be my morning in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And I was nervous about, okay, I'm this steady, stable force in people's lives. I can't change a lot around. And also I have to be human. I am forthcoming. I say, I can't see you at 3:00 in my morning. I'm not going to be a good therapist for you if I push myself in a way And so it's looking at our limitations. When is something not right? And when does something actually have to shift in the treatment, whether that be fee, time. So many of my clients have come back and celebrated me they're like, yes, Allie, let yourself, I'm hoping to encourage them to live the lives that they want to live that work the best for them. And it's a two-way street. So I will be getting up early in Asia, which I'm excited about. I will get to see my people after their work hours. I've been meeting with a lot of people, in their office or in the morning before they head to work. And it's so interesting. I heard another therapist said, the treatment gets really stagnant when you don't change the fee. He was talking about fee. And I would say the same perhaps about is that the treatment can get really stagnant. I hear my clients say, you know what, I'm exhausted at the end of the day. I'm shot at the end of my workday. And I'm like, let's talk about that. Why are you shot? You shouldn't be shot at 6 p.m. You should have your night. You should be doing, I shouldn't say should, you could be doing things. And so it freshens things up. It's kind of like rebooting the system, right?
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Within reason too, right? We don't want to be all rogue but
you're seeing that sometimes the limits that we put on ourselves, thinking that they are what our clients need, that actually we can question that. We can get into the gray area of looking at, is that always true? Is there sometimes a benefit actually to changing things?
Yeah, staying open and being curious, not knowing, right? We get into that habit of assuming based on training or whatever. And so to absolutely free that up in a mindset way. Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's future Annie here, just popping in for a moment. The theme of this episode is definitely freedom. For me, my freedom has expanded a ton since I expanded my business beyond providing just therapy. If you've got a desire to create something that takes you outside of the role of therapist, there are tons of possibilities. Maybe the vast number of possibilities can sometimes overwhelm you. Enter the Rebel Therapist 2-Day. This is an opportunity to take 2 days out of your day-to-day life and let me help you create a doable plan to level up your work. You'll have a chance to focus and go through my process step by step to create a plan you can actually take action on. If you want to create at least $20,000 in new income in the next year with plenty of room to grow from there, this is for you. Go to rebeltherapist.me and click on the Rebel Therapist 2-Day. It's an awesome program and you should check it out now. Again, that is rebeltherapist.me, not .com, .me, and just click on the Rebel Therapist 2-Day. Okay, I'm going to get back to Allie talking to past Annie. What are, if any, some glitches that have shown up in this process for you?
Oh, Doxy.me was down once for 1 hour and they were so on it. So I'm so grateful for that. I'm looking at the toggle right now that I'm connected to my computer with. Was first day. I'm in Lima. I'm about to go home to do my sessions. I'm so excited. I have this epic view of the sunset in the back that I'm super stoked. And I'm talking about, how I'm going to plug into the router. And I was in the lobby of the workspace and another fellow turns to me, another nomad, and he says, "Do you have a toggle for that?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, why won't this cord just go into my computer?" And I look at my MacBook Air and absolutely not. This cord is definitely not going to fit. And so thankfully, another remote, bless her heart, traveled with every single wire and toggle she had in her space. And she had just this whole bag of things. And we found something that fits. So check your tech for sure. Even all the webinars and all the research I did, being in different cities, you don't know what the sounds are going to be. There was a cannon that went off at noon every day in Santiago in Chile. I was across the street from this park and there would be this explosion every day. And I was like, what in gay hell is happening? And I talked to a local. They said, they set off a cannon to mark the noon hour. So I would have to wait. I figured it out, noon would hit. I'd wait for the cannon. So my clients didn't get utterly freaked out. And then, 12:01, I sign on to the call. Here in Mexico City, I have someone that washes my front door every day. That's a thing. Didn't know. So I'm like, what? Who is mopping my door right now?
And you have to, Allie, you just said, what in gay hell? Tell me, tell me about that.
I I don't know where. I work with a lot of actors and dancers and just creative folks, and yeah, I don't know. I love language. I love how it can speak to our actual feeling. Was someone the other day on your podcast, she said woman face when she
Yep,
was
yep,
talking
yep.
about. I wrote that down. I'm just like, just that little bit of joy where woman face, what the woman had stolen a logo, used it for 20 years.
Yes. So good. So your clients are located in California. You're located everywhere.
Correct.
And you were in the Bay. So are all of your clients in the Bay at this point? Or are you ending up working with people from different parts of California?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have started to work with people outside of the Bay. And I do have to say, the BBS, it's legit. The therapist does not have to be in the state of California. Your clients do. And I know, and there's the gray area of when they're traveling, but permanent residents of California, we can work with. We do not have to be in the state, which has been eye opening for a lot of therapists. But I am attracting people who, for whatever reason, they don't drive, they are outside of the area, it just fits with them. A lot of my clients were like, actually, this will work better for me, right? There's no commute time, parking, childcare. Yeah, it's so accessible for people. It fits in with their lifestyle. So it's not for everyone. Certainly I did terminate with some folks who wanted the in-person therapy. And that was hard to close with some people, but it was the right thing at the right time.
I'm imagining that must be, for anyone who's listening, who's thinking of doing this, that must be one of the things you really need support to get through is that moment of like, this is not actually going to work for everybody, just like many things in life don't work for everybody, and getting support to get through that transition. Is that true that was one?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I definitely sought out consultation with how do I do this? And the feedback that I received from a really wise soul was actually, to frame this as what it is for me, which is it is an adventure. And, it's been so evocative for clients, everything from inspiration and awe to jealousy. And yeah, there's one termination that was coming to mind just right now that it felt like such a good fit. It felt like such a right fit client. And I'm so proud of them. And I really celebrated this in the moment. They were someone who actually didn't ask for a lot of what they needed. And they were like, this isn't going to work for me. I'm so sorry. And I was like, do not apologize. I want to celebrate you in this hard moment, asking for what you want, which is an in-person therapist. And I hope they're doing so well. I loved them. Yeah.
Yeah. How do clients find you now?
I am not quite sure. The internet webs are such a fascinating, bizarre thing. I think I'm still listed number 4 on top 10 therapists on Yelp. I don't know how that happened because Yelp actually deemed all of my reviews not recommended. So I don't actually know how things work. I am on a few listservs. I am on Psychology Today, despite its problematic ways. Referrals, networking with other therapists. I talk to a lot of people. I like to hear about what other people are doing. We learn about each other's work.
So this makes me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this just makes me think that all sounds really like the same as it would be if you were in the Bay, that you're using the internet, you're like right before we came on the call, you were talking about how your copy on your website is really helping people know that they're the right fit for you. You're networking, I'm assuming, with people in California, just
Mm-hmm.
like how you and I are talking right now, and I'm in California.
Mm-hmm.
So much of what you're saying is really the same tools that you would use, just you're doing those things remotely as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is so cool. And what about anything that feels like it's really different than what you would be doing to bring folks in, when you were local?
I want to redo my website. I say I did it myself on Wix, and it looks like it. So I'm looking to tweak that. I'm actually surprised people come to me, with the quality of what I have out there. But it's like, we just got to start somewhere. Just do it. I would say that I feel like the copy brings people in. They read, and I shared with you earlier that the copy that I developed in your program is what people respond to. They say, I love that you said that you were direct. I just say, I've been around the block, and I think that speaks to people. I work with a lot of marginalized communities, and, I was that kid who was sitting alone at the lunch table eating by themselves. And so I think that when therapists are honest, there's nothing I'm doing differently. I'm a little more active on social media, which I have, an interesting relationship with. But I'm just so grateful, blessed, in awe that this thing is working, that, I'm full, and that's always changing, right? We're always working ourselves out of a job. The better we get as therapists, the sooner our clients terminate, for better or worse. And so we need freshness, and yet something is supporting me. It's mysterious, and I'm leveling up as, incrementally.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. How are you feeling about the money piece of your business? How are you feeling about, like, what are you charging? How are you feeling about your fee?
I'm feeling really good about the money piece. I am part-time in a group practice, and I'm part-time in private practice. So my fee is $190 at the clinic, and I've just leveled up my private practice fee to $190, and I feel good about that. I feel like I'm worth it. I was doing this experiment with a sliding scale that I put out to clients. I said, I work on a sliding scale, 150 to 180. I ask that you honestly assess where you fall on the scale. I did that for a little bit, and just where I'm at in my practice, in my training and development, I have done away with that. I still have people I see on a sliding scale. I have one person I see at 80, one I see at 135. I have a few at 150, but a bulk of my clients most of them are between the 170 and 190 range.
Nice. And just hearing you talk about it, yeah, I hear the ease. I hear just the personal work that you've done around it. That a lot of people clench when the when the money issue comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just feels like that's as important as the actual numbers, is the ease that I'm hearing. It makes me really happy.
Yeah. And, and this ease is so important, right? Because we can't approach it from the scarcity mindset. I am comfortable now because I have worked my ass off. I worked full time through graduate school, so I didn't have to take out loans to live off of. So I have some advantages to not being in debt, where I can feel confident in, I'm not hungry, but I realize that's a privileged mindset. But I worked 6 days a week when I was in the Bay for about 6 months before I left, so that I could build a little cushion, because I knew I was going to have some attrition with shifting to online work. That happened. Yeah.
So, Allie, you have a book. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
I am so excited about this project that has been so long in the making, and it's a project I started back in 2005, and I've worked on it on and off throughout the years, and it's been talking to me. It's been calling me. It's actually something I've thought about every day for I can't even say how long. And it's edgy, and it's, I'm actually just now starting to talk about it. I'm launching pre-sales August 1st. So I am working on my book proposal, which people who are writing books, bless you, the proposal is actually harder than writing an actual book. But this is a really fertile time for me. I am feeling creative and healthy. And so it's risky. I am breathing through this. And because it's scary, I think that's a good sign to do it, right? It's like proceed with caution, breathe through it. But it's social commentary. It touches on the criminalization of the mental health consumer population to, it's vignettes and anecdotes, stories from my life. So that it is disclosing in nature. And also it's commentary. And I am holding it as, I don't know. It's like vulnerability is the new black that I'm hearing from people as I'm talking about this. They're like, yeah, people don't do that. Therapists don't do that. Like you really need to think about the fragile bond between therapist and client. And I'm like, is it that fragile? Kind of what we've been talking about. What happens when I let myself be a human, when I let myself have a past, and it is in my past. And there's a reason why people choose particular therapists. Whether people find this or not, I don't know. What they read or not, I don't know. But what that this isn't the focus of the book nor the purpose, but you are buying being in relationship with me. And there's no blueprint for that. I am the therapist I am because of what has come before. And this is an expression of that. If you're interested in reading it, if not, yeah, I think that's all I can say about that.
So you're talking about self-disclosure and it's interesting because, one thing I think is that like life is too short for us not to do the things that we're here to do. And so it sounds like one of those things is this book.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we hold back, whether it's traveling or writing a book or, creating some kind of project or art, whatever it is, if we don't do that thing because we feel like we're taking care of our clients, I feel like there's got to be an impact to that. There's got to be something that comes from that, whether it's resentment or depression or just not living quite fully.
Yeah.
I don't see that as healing.
Right. I'm asking my clients to be brave and to be bold. And if I'm not doing that thing, if I'm not walking my walk, it's just being hypocrite. I was trained to always be authentic. I'm not bringing this into the room. I'm not going anywhere near my clinical work. So, and the pieces, the works that have inspired me the most, in becoming a therapist have been Girl Interrupted, Running with Scissors, and, Detour. The tagline is her bipolar road trip. And these are books that I just poured through and found myself in, and something is coming through me, and maybe it will, that is the intention, that it is of service to the community, to the audience that it finds.
Excellent. All right. So pre-sales August 1st, which, do you have a title you can share with us?
I do. It is The Therapist Next Door.
Ooh.
Not to be confused with The Shrink Next Door, which I saw someone just put out on iTunes. I think it's a novel, but I hopped onto iTunes. I said, oh my gosh, but it's The Therapist Next Door. And I'm doing it through Publishizer, which is a great resource for first-time authors. I do need to get publishers' interest. It's not a guarantee. I might end up self-publishing if all goes south, but my hope is to hit the mark to attract a publisher. So please check it out. I'll be promoting it probably on LinkedIn. I'm not going to have it on my Facebook or my Instagram professional page, but please connect with me through social media, through my website, alipsiuk.com.
So Allie, if you could time travel to the beginning of your business, what would you tell the Allie of that time? And let's have like one piece of advice that is maybe more big picture and one that's just like geeky tactical?
I think trusting the mindset piece, I would tell myself to trust the process, that we don't have to figure it out right away, that, also the excitement is just that if something gets you excited and it makes you nervous, do it, welcome it, embrace it. That's where the vitality is, and maybe letting myself be more, childlike, not childish, but I've had a very rich and full life, and I had that because I didn't get stuck up in the thought or the fear. I just kind of did it. And so I'm experimenting with letting myself do a little bit more of that now. And the tactical piece is staying, this is more practice than, business, but staying on top of our notes. I think in the 5 to 10 minutes after session, do the notes, get that out of the way so that you can have that extra hour or whatever at the end of the day to feed yourself, whether that's, engaging with podcasts or TED Talks, or I feel like I have more free time to do research and exploration. I'm really hungry for knowledge and information, and I can do that when I can close the computer at the end of the day and actually be done with it. So staying on top of your notes for sure.
I love it. It's never hanging over your head then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Allie, it has been such a delight to talk to you. And I feel all this like energy and excitement about what you're doing and what it, hearing about it is going to make possible for others. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you for helping helpers help better. And happy Pride. It's June. I don't know when this is going to air, but happy Pride.
Thank you for listening. You can find out more about Allie at alliepsiuk.com. All right, let's spell that. It's ALIPSIUK.com, and you'll find that in the show notes as well. If you found this interview supportive, please just take a moment to leave us a rating. It really helps other people find the podcast. And thank you so much. I'll see you next time. I'll just remind Cosmo to do that, but he would probably catch it anyway because he's kind of a perfectionist.